Digital transformation time. Digital transformation time.
I'm Sergey Irisov. I've built audit-grade digital environments for deep tech that has to pass certification. Green aviation, nuclear, automotive, and electronics. I've done this with small teams under real regulatory pressure where a wrong architectural decision costs you a year. This channel for two people. If you're a founder or a CEO, you learn which decisions actually decide whether transformation works. So you stop burning budget on the wrong things. If you're a tech lead, you learn what to build underneath. I've written about this in the European Business Review and Hackathon. This channel is where I turn these ideas into something you can build, step by step. Here is a trap, and it's seductive because it feels responsible. You have a problem, chaos in your engineering data, no traceability, and slow handoffs. So you do the serious thing. You run a selection process, compare your vendors, and buy a capable platform, PLM, ERP, MES, and ALM suites, something respectable. You implement it, and for a while, it feels like you progress, because something is happening. Then, 12 months later, you look up, and it's still a chaos. It just has a more expensive login screen. The tool didn't fail. The assumption did. The assumption that a tool can install an operating model you never designed. Why do smart experienced people fall for this? 3 reasons. First, a tool is buyable. An operating model isn't on the price list. It's work, and it's invisible work. So it loses to the thing you can put in a purchase order. Second, a tool gives you a feeling of motion. Demos, rollouts, training sessions. It looks like transformation. Third, and this is a deep one, the vendor's incentive is to sell you the tool, not to tell you that the tool is maybe only 20% of the answer. The other 80%, who owns which decision, how a change gets approved, how evidence is generated, how the stages of your product connect. None of that ships in the box. You have to design it. There is a serious idea underneath this, and it's worth knowing the name. David Tiss's work on dynamic capabilities makes a distinction most companies miss. There is a difference between the resources you own, your tools, your assets, and your capability to reconfigure them as the world changes. Transformation isn't a buying a better resources. It's building a capability to keep adapt. A tool is a resource. An operating model is a capability. That one distinction explains most of the failures I've ever seen. I'm standing on this here. What I'd add is what it looks like on the factory floor at 2 a.m. before the audit. So let's reframe what you're actually buying when you do digital transformation. You're not buying software. You're deciding how your company operates, how an idea becomes a real requirement, how a requirement becomes a design, how a design becomes something you can build twice and prove you built correctly. That chain, that's the operating model. The software is just where some of it gets recorded. Get the chain right, and the modest toolset works beautifully. Get the chain wrong, and the most expensive platform on the earth just digitizes your confusion faster. Tools don't create the operating model. At best, they enforce one you've already designed. Here is my claim for this channel. The most useful lens for designing an operating model is the product lifecycle, the path your product takes from idea to retirement, not as software, as the operating system of your company. Over this course, I'll build it with you, stage by stage. Requirements and configuration control, traceability, the digital thread, integrations across your systems, and where AI agents now do work that used to need a whole team without losing audit readiness. Everything connects back to one question. Can you build your product twice and prove it? In the next episode, I'll define what an operating model actually is. Concretely, not as a buzzword. Recap. Most transformations fail, and almost never because of the tool. The trap is believing a purchase can install an operating model you never designed. A tool is a resource. The operating model is a capability, and only one of those you can actually buy. If this reframed how you think about the money you're about to spend, subscribe, because next I'll make operating model concrete. And tell me in the comments what's the most expensive tool your company bought that didn't fix the actual problem. No judgment. I've seen it from the inside.
Digital transformation time. Digital transformation time.
First, let's clear out the bad definitions, because they are everywhere. An operating model is not your org chart. That's who reports to whom, not how the work actually flows. It's not your list of tools. We covered that. And it's not a glossy slide with 5 pillars and an icon for each. Those slides feel strategic, but change nothing on Monday morning. A real operating model is really boring and far more powerful. It's a set of decisions of how work actually moves throughout your company, who decide how it is recorded and how you prove it later. Here is the practical version. An operating model answers 4 questions about any piece of work. Say, a change to your product. Run your own company through this, and you feel instantly where it is solid and where it is air. 1. Who owns the decision? Not who has an opinion, who actually decides and is accountable. If your answer is, it depends, or whoever's in the room, that's your first crack. 2. How does it get recorded? When that decision is made, does it become a record with an owner and a timestamp? Or does it live in a Slack thread, the hallway, or someone's memory? Decisions that aren't recorded didn't operationally happen. 3. How does it connect? Does the decision link to what it affects? The requirement, the design, the build? Or is it an island? Disconnected decisions are how you end up unable to reconstruct your own product. 4. How would you prove it? 6 months later, an auditor, an investor in due diligence, or a news site asks, why is it this way? And who said so? Can you answer in a minute, or do you launch an archaeology project? That last question is a whole game of regulated deep tech. Let me make it concrete with the same small change. An engineer updates a part. In broken operating model, who decides? A senior engineer, informally. How it is recorded? A message and an updated file. How does it connect? It doesn't. Requirement still says the old thing. How would you prove it? You wouldn't. You'd reconstruct it badly months later. Every step happened, none of it holds. In a healthy operating model, a change is a record with a clear owner. The approval is captured with a reason and a timestamp. It's linked to the requirement and the baseline, and proving it later takes 30 seconds. Same change, same people, completely different company, because the operating model is different, not the tools. Back to dynamic capabilities for a second. Thesis' point is that advantage comes from something worth changing, seizing it, and reconfiguring how you operate, repeatedly. Notice all three are about decisions and operating routines, not about assets. An operating model is just where that capability lives, day to day. The routines that decide, record, connect, and prove. Tools sit underneath it. This is why I keep saying that operating model is the thing. It is literally the capability this says creates advantage, made operational. If you're a founder, here is where your leverage actually is. You probably can't and shouldn't design every workflow yourself. But you decide one thing that determines everything downstream. Whether your company treats these 4 questions as a real work now or as cleanup for later. That single decision is worth more than any tool selection. Because we'll clean up the traceability before the audit is the most expensive sentence in the deep tech. I've watched it cost a year. An operating model isn't an IT topic you can delegate. It's a company design topic. You set whether it matters, your tech leads build how it works. So, an operating model is how work moves. Decided, recorded, connected, provable. Historically, building one was slow and needed specialists you cannot afford early. That's exactly what changed in the last 2 years. In the next episode, why a CEO with AI agents can now design and run an operating model that used to need the whole team, and the new trap that comes with that power. Recap. An operating model is the set of decisions about how work moves, who owns it, how it's recorded, how it connects, and how you prove it. Run any change through those 4 questions and you'll find your cracks in about a minute. If that gave you a useful test, subscribe. Next, I show you why you can now build this yourself with AI. And in the comments, of the 4 questions, which one is weakest in your company right now? Owning, recording, connecting, or proving? That answer tells you where to start.
Digital transformation time. Digital transformation time.
Let's be precise about what changed, because the hype is loud. It's not that AI does transformation for you. It doesn't. What changed is that the expensive, slow, specialist-heavy part of building an operating model got cheap and fast. Mapping a messy pile of documents into a first draft process map that used to be a weeks of the consultant's time. An agent can draft it in an hour. Drafting the procedures, decision makers, the policies, how work should move, that used to need people you couldn't hire yet. Now you draft, you direct, you correct. The human job moved up from doing the groundwork to deciding and governing it. The work that used to need a team, a founder can now direct with agents. Here is a grounded example from my own work. I'll go deeper on it later in this course. The default move when AI got useful was to buy a seat for everyone. A per-user subscription, growing costs, and your proprietary engineering data flowing somewhere you don't fully control. For a pre-revenue deep tech company, that's both expensive and strategically risky. Instead, we built a controlled internal capability, multiple models, access governed, with a hard rule that our data isn't used for training. The economics flipped from $20,000 per year plan to a $20 pilot over the 2 months. That's not a tooling story. That's a CEO level operating decision about cost, control, and data. Exactly the kind of decision agents now let the small team execute. Now the trap, because this power has a sharp edge. And agents make it easy to generate the procedures, records, and structure fast. You can produce an operating model that looks complete and is quietly hollow. Pages of policy nobody owns. Traceability that's technically present and never enforced. In regulated engineering, this is the most dangerous failure mode there is, because it passes a glance and falls an audit. Here is the line I'd burn into a wall. AI removed the excuse you didn't have a people to build it, but it does not remove the need to govern it. Generation is now cheap. Judgment, ownership, and accountability are not. If anything, they are the whole job now. This closes the loop on TIS. Dynamic capability is about reconfiguring how you operate as the world changes. And the world just changed. AI didn't replace the capability. It lowered the cost of building it and raised the value of governing it. The companies that win this round won't be the ones that adopt AI fastest. They will be the ones that adopt it with an operating model designed in, not bolted on. That's the entire thesis of this channel. So, concretely, who does what now? If you're a founder or a CEO, you no longer get to say transformation is too expensive or too specialist for your stage. That excuse is gone. Your job is to decide what your operating model must guarantee, and to insist that what the agent drafts is actually owned and governed. If you're a tech lead, your value just went up, not down. You're no longer buried in groundwork. You're the one who turns fast-generated drafts into something that holds under audit. The groundwork got cheap. The judgment got priceless. That's a good trade for both of you. That's Module 0. Pull it together. Most transformations fail because teams buy tools instead of designing an operating model. An operating model is how the work moves. Decided, recorded, connected, provable. And for the first time, you can build one yourself with AI, as long as you govern it. Everything after this is the how. We start with the lens that makes the whole operating model concrete. The product life cycle. It's the company's actual operating system. That's the module 1. And it begins with the 6 stages and one place every growing company breaks. I'll see you there. Recap. The specialist barrier collapsed. The CEO with the agents can build an operating model. But cheap generation makes governance the whole job, not an afterthought. If this is the lens you've been missing, subscribe and start Module 1, where this stops being theory and becomes something you built. And in the comments, are you more excited by what AI lets you build or more worried about the hollow version. Both are the right instincts. See you in Module 1.
Digital transformation time. Digital transformation.